What is good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm on Toxin Gaming. Today we're going to be going over my Midterm Paradox deck predictions. These are going to be going over all four of the characters who are in the Midterm Paradox box. And yeah, we're just going to be like, this is all just a guess. This is not, I do not have any, I'm not in cahoots with Konami, is what I'm trying to say. So every card that you're going to be seeing here is just a guess that I'm making for it. And last time we did this for the GX box. And that's 8 characters, so I was able to do individual videos. Since this is only 4 characters, we're going to just put it all into one video. JDG Gaming, or Team JDG, they are doing something very similar to this on their channel, so I highly recommend going and checking it out if you want to eat up some more Speed Duel content. But without further ado, we're going to jump into my Paradox prediction. This is the most interesting prediction, I feel like, out of all 4 of these characters, because I really got most of this from Duel Links. And their Duel Links decks is not that great, but they were kind of meta relevant there for a little bit. And a lot of what I'm seeing for this deck is what you're able to get by playing these characters or playing against these characters in Duel Links. So number 1 on my list, I want to go over it first and foremost. It's Reasoning. This would be the most meta-defining card that we could get from them. You get this card by, I think, maxing out Paradox as a character or something like that. And yeah, I think this card would be incredible in Speed Duels. Like, this would be one of our best staple cards to have. It would be able to turbo through the deck, get cards in the graveyard a lot faster, and also in the end you can also bring out these guys a little bit easier. So that helps out too. But what this card says, if you don't know, is you declare a level 1 through 12, excavate the cards from the top of your deck until you excavate a monster that could be a normal summon set. Then if that monster is the same level as the one declared by your opponent, send all excavated cards to the graveyard. If not, special summon the excavated monster, and send the remaining cards to the graveyard. So this card's really, really good. It was really good in Duel Links as well when it first came out. And yeah, I think it would definitely be a meta-defining card if we did get this. And we really need meta-defining cards to sell the product, right? So Reasoning, in my opinion, would be a very good call. Of course, we also have our Gate Guardian, and I believe we're going to be getting a Gate Guardian skill. Probably something to make it significantly easier to summon it. I was thinking like maybe a ability that says send a Senga Asunder, Suijin, and Kazijin from your hand, field, or graveyard and banish them, and then summon Gate Guardian from your deck. I think that would be a really interesting skill and probably give him some sort of protection because all he is a big body. So just say this card is unaffected by trap effects or something like that. I think that would make for a really, really good boss monster. And so the reason why I think it's going to have to do with these cards being banished to summon him is because Foolish Burial got hit to 1, and I honestly think Foolish Burial's hit to 1 was in, they're probably going to be working around the graveyard with these guys, banishing them to summon the Gate Guardian. Maybe even instead of giving it the protection effect, just say once per turn you can discard one of these to the graveyard, and then draw a card, and then you can banish all 3 from the graveyard to summon Gate Guardian from your hand, deck, or graveyard, ignoring summoning conditions. That would be a really interesting effect. We're going to get into the Labyrinth Wall next. I feel like this is the best one to look over. So Labyrinth Wall is a 3K defender. It's the most iconic card, in my opinion, of the Paradox brothers, because when we first see them and everything, they're playing against Joey and Yugi, and they are playing in the Labyrinth Wall. So that is a really unique and powerful card that we can get. Also, it gets searched off a Giant Rat, so that could be really, really cool. If anything, Giant Rat could also be in this deck, but I'm not predicting it. Next on our list is going to be the Wall Shadow. So we have Magical Labyrinth and Wall Shadow. They kind of go together. I feel like this could just be an interesting boss monster, and we're just likely to get it, right? These 2 cards are just, they don't do anything. Speed Duels gives us bad cards all the time, so I definitely think that we are going to get these. Shadow Ghoul is a lot better version of Wall Shadow because it's just a 1 tribute that gains attack points for monsters in the graveyard, which could go really well with your Reasoning for later. I think it's really, really powerful. Jurai Gumo is a very, very good card that I believe we will definitely be getting. This is played by the Paradox brothers in the anime and was a very big staple at the beginning of Yu-Gi-Oh! In general. Being a 2200 beater that just whenever it declares an attack, you flip a coin. If you call it right, the attack is declared. If you call it wrong, the attack is still declared, but you have to pay half your life points. I think this card is very strong. 2200 is definitely a climbable body, and it is going to be a meta-defining card once it hits Speed Duels. Next, we're going to get into the Gate cards and the Guardian cards. So we got Gate Blocker. I think this card would be very interesting to have in Speed Duels. It negates field spells. So if we ever get into a point where we're playing against field spell decks, such as the Vampire deck coming out, Amazon is probably going to be getting some sort of support, Gravekeeper is probably for the Shadow Rider set. Gate Blocker could be very good for that set. And then your opponent can't place counters on cards on the field, so Apprentice Magician isn't going to be as powerful if you have this card. It would be a very good side in case Apprentice Monarchs ever come back. And your opponent cannot target other monsters you control with card effects. So it protects from the Book of Moons, from the Offerings to the Doomed. It's just a really good card that we would see a lot of play with. We also are getting into the Guardian card. So we have the Lost Guardian. This card doesn't really do much for the deck itself, but it's just a really cool card. It just says the original defense of this card equals the number of banished rock type monsters times 700. You could use it in your magnet deck, I guess. It's a good one to point out for it. And then you got Guardian Statue. I like this card. Once per turn, you can flip this card into face-down defense position. When this card is split summon, return one monster on your opponent's side of the field to its owner's hand. I think it's a really cool card. It's a really neat Pac-Man card that you could put in. And yeah, I like really enjoy this card for what it is. I think it's very control heavy, very nice to just be able to continuously return cards to hand if your opponent can't deal with it. It's just really interesting. And then lastly, we have Stronghold Guardian, which is just like a really interesting little castle guy. I think it's really cool. If a defense position monster you control is attacked, you can set this card from your hand to the graveyard. During this damage steps, you can have your attack monster gain 1500 defense until the end phase. So it's a neat little battle trap that will do damage to your opponent when they attack defense position monsters, which, if they try to climb Labyrinth's Wall, is a really good card to protect your Labyrinth Wall. Next on our list, we're going Fairy Meteor Crush, another card that was used by the Paradox brother, an equip spell card that whenever equipped to any of your monsters, they do piercing damage. Tribute Doll will get, I 100% believe Tribute Doll will be getting a reprint in this set because of this. Not much to say here other than it lets you summon out these guys a little bit easier. Extra Gate is a card that will not be good now and might be good later. It's just a card that says you get to declare a level between 1 and 12. Your opponent banishes one monster of that level from the extra deck. So if you're playing against fusion decks, this is a really cool card to mill out fusion cards that you don't want to deal with. I think it could be a really nice side deck later. Damage Gate is a really nice trap card that could come into here. When you take battle damage, target one monster in your graveyard with attack less than or equal to the amount of damage you took and special summon that target. It could become a really good trap card, battle trap that monster board cards. Counter Gate, it's another card I genuinely think we can get. It says when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, negates the attack, and if you do draw one card, then if it's a monster immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon it in face-up attack position. I think that's a very, very, very good card that we could be seeing in the future. And then Dimension Gate is another card that they get in Duel Links. It says activate this card by targeting one monster you control, banish that target face-up. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can send this card from the field to the graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon that monster banished by this card effect. It's just an interesting card. I don't think it's going to see any meta play, and like I said, it is a Duel Links card. Another card that we could go over that we may or may not get, I'm not entirely sure about this card, is Double Summon. Being able to summon twice in turn, it can be very, very strong, and I'll just think it's a cool card that could help speed up the format a little bit. And then we could also get these cards here that help you bring out, there are 2 tribute monsters that help you bring out these guys. They could definitely be in the deck as well. Moving on to Jaden. This is his Elemental Hero deck. I don't think Elemental Heroes are going to be anything special. I think we're going to get really bad Elemental Heroes again. And just because I know how Konami is, and I know how this goes, I'm not very confident about what we're going to get here. But because they announced Blaze Man, this could be a little bit of a different story. We could be getting a little bit better cards, such as Prisma, I think is a card that could definitely come. And then I think that another card we could be looking at is Solid Soldier. Both these cards I think are very doable cards that could come to the format. I don't think they do a lot right now. This card special summons a hero monster from your hand. That's level 4 or lower. This one becomes any fusion material that you want it to. This one searches Poly. If these 3 cards come, then this deck is not as bad as I think it's going to be, but the likelihood of us getting either of these 2 cards is very slim. But no matter what, we are going to be getting our reprints of the original heroes. I feel like that is a definite thing to happen. And then we're going to get Elemental Hero Clayman. Then we'll get Elemental Hero Ice Edge, which is not that great of a card. Same with Canopes, and same with Poison Rose, which needs Rosebud. So if you don't know, Rosebud is another card that we could be looking at here. Rosebud, you have to tribute Canopes to summon Poison Rose. These are the most forgotten about hero monsters to ever exist, in my opinion. Ice Edge is a monster that can attack your opponent directly. I think so. Yeah, when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by direct attack, you can target one set card your opponent's spell and trap card zone, destroy that target. Once per turn during your main phase, you can discard cards. The card can attack your opponent directly this turn, which is really interesting. Voltic is the one that lets you get your banished elemental hero monsters from your graveyard. Yeah, that's cool. They special summon it back. Heat and Lady Heat are just, I guess, the better ones that we could get, especially with Blazeman getting announced. I think that we are going to be getting more fire heroes for this. And then the Rottweiler reprint. Emergency Call, I think, is also going to be put into this. This is why I don't think we're going to get very strong elemental heroes, but I could always be wrong. Skyscraper might get a reprint, but the ability for us to get Skyscraper 2 is also there because this card is not that strong and definitely could get it. Fusion Gate might get a reprint in this set as well, along with another polymerization. Hero Barrier is also in this set because I think it's a very good trap card that protects your hero monsters, and then Counterattack becomes the best trap card for the deck. And like I said before, Rosebud summons your Poison Rose by attributing Canopes. The fusion monsters aren't going to be anything spectacular in my opinion. We're going to obviously get Tempest. I also think we're going to get a skill with Tempest that will be like a Red Eye Fusion, if you guys know what that card is. So what this card says is you can fusion summon one fusion monster that lists Red Eyes as a material, using monsters from your hand, deck, field as a fusion material, and then you cannot normal or special summon other monsters to turn you activate this effect. So I think that we are definitely going to get a Red Eye Fusion type skill, probably saying that you can fusion summon this card by sending the materials from your hand, deck, or graveyard. You can't summon Elemental Hero or any monsters for the rest of the turn, and for the rest of the duel you can't summon Elemental Hero monsters, and it's going to be a once per duel effect. So you get to bring out Tempest once per duel, and then it becomes susceptible to Flake Trap Holes, which are in every deck, but it's also just a really cool card to see in general. And the other card I think we're going to get is Electromite. This card's not that great, but might as well go over it. He's summoned by sending Avian, Personificatrix, Clayman, Bubbleman to the graveyard. While he's face up on the field, he becomes all those attributes. And then when this card is fusion summoned, you shuffle all banished cards into the deck. This card gains 300 attack for each monster your opponent controls. That shares an attribute with this card. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, but super hard to bring out, and it's not very rewarding to summon him. Next on our list is going to be Inferno. Inferno is a card that's summoned through Heat and Lady Heat. And so yeah, these cards are not that great. This guy gains 200 attack, this card does 200 burn, and this card just gains 1,000 attack when it attacks water monsters, so that's cool. I also think that we're going to get a Flame Wingman reprint, if we even get it at all. And then I think that Nova Master is going to be the main boss monster we will see from this. Nova Master is just a generic monster that takes Elemental Hero monster and a Fire monster. You fusion summon him. When you destroy the monster by battle, you draw a card. He's not very spectacular, not very strong, but he is generic, and it gives us a reason to play Blazeman with the other Fire heroes. So that could be very interesting. Again, something to go over with this is that I'm just not looking forward to, or I just don't believe they're going to do anything to make this deck good. If they decide to, Woodsman is going to be a really cool card to keep an eye on. This card just adds a polymerization during your standby phase. It's very slow to set up, but with that 2,000 booty, it kind of like helps out a lot. Ocean is another card that we should be looking at here. Ocean, during the standby phase, it adds a hero from your graveyard to your hand. And then lastly, we are going to look at Terra Firma, which could be another boss monster that could be overlooked. And yeah, he's just really cool because you contribute a face-up element to hero monster, and that gains attack equal to attributed monster's attack until the end phase. So it can get bigger than most things and attack with them. Another card that we could look forward to is Miracle Fusion. I think this card is very strong. Yeah, I think this card is very strong, and the possibility of us getting it there is possible, yes, but also, will they actually want to give us a card this powerful? It's hard to say. If they give us bad elemental heroes, sure, give us Miracle Fusion. Like, what are we going to summon if this is our card pool? Nova Master? Like, but yeah, that's my opinion on that. Going down the list, we're going to be looking at the Roid monsters. So this is what I think we're going to get for Cyrus. I think they're going to try to make Roids at least a decent deck moving forward, but I don't think it's going to still be good considering what our meta is. I just don't personally know. Oh, there's also another card. I made this a while ago, but Cybertech Alligator. Cybertech Alligator is a card I definitely think could come to, especially because of the SPA errata. This is a card I didn't have in here originally because the SPA, it would be too strong in SPA, but now that SPA's gotten Errata, I think this becomes your main boss monster for that deck. Other cards that we could be looking at in here is Dragon Roid. This is a very hopeful card, but I don't think we're actually personally going to get it, but I wanted to put it in here just to talk about it a little bit. If this card is in your graveyard, you can make this card become a dragon monster. You can discard this card, add a non-wind Roid monster from your deck to your hand, or this turn, the activation of your cards and effects that include the effect of fusion summon a fusion monster cannot be negated. So this card is, like, in my opinion, very good for the GX era since we're based around fusion monsters. But the card we are definitely going to get is going to be UFO Odroid. This is a iconic card from the Paradox Brothers battle, and I just think it's very good this format. Not personally very good, but I think it just makes Roids a decent deck. Express Roid is also going to be playing this deck. This is a very good, this is, in my opinion, one of your best Roid monsters. So when it's summoned, you can target 2 Roid monsters in your graveyard and add those targets to your hand. Super simplified card, but it's very good. So it says when it's summoned for 1, so if you're able to special summon it and normal summon it in the same turn, you get to add 4 monsters from your deck, from your graveyard to your hand, which is incredible to even think about because it's not once per turn, it's when it's summoned, and it's just, like, really, really good. Mixer Roid is another hopeful card that I probably should have went over before I went over the rest of them, but yeah, this, you just tribute a machine monster, special summon 1 non-wind Roid monster from your deck. You can pay half your life points and banish any number of machine monsters from your graveyard, including this card, and fusion summon from your extra deck 1 Roid fusion monster with the same level as the numbers of those monsters banished, ignoring its summoning conditions, but you destroy it during the end phase. So having a card like this really turns on the deck, because you're able to fusion summon using materials from your graveyard with this card. I think it could go into your better fusion monsters a lot easier. Ambulance Roid and Rescue Roid are both in this deck for fusions materials. That's about it. They're not very good. Stealth Roid is a really cool card. If this card attacks, destroy 1 spell or trap card at the end of the battle phase if you control another Roid monster. Very weak attack, so it's not that great, but it's, in my opinion, having a spell trap destruction in the deck is very nice. Steam Roid is probably one of the better Roid monsters that we could be talking about or generically talk about. He gains 500 attack when he declares an attack, loses 500 attack when it is attacked. Drill Roid destroys defense monsters by card effect. Submarine Roid attacks defense directly, and then when it attacks directly, it switches to defense mode. Just keep in mind that if you boost this card up at all, he only does his original attack as damage. Gyroid is going to more than likely get a reprint from the GX box, so we'll probably be seeing him again. And then Jetroid will probably also come as well. Patroid? My bad. Is a really interesting one, but again, they're just Roid monsters. They're just names at this point to bring out your fusion monsters. Again, Card Trooper is insane. Being able to mill 3 cards from your deck and then have this generically powerful card is, like, really, really good in my opinion. So when he's show up battle, you also get to draw a card, you get to fill your graveyard, and it just fits the Roid deck more than anything out of all the other ones we went over. It could also more likely be in the Jaden deck, because I think he also is known for using Card Trooper. Alright, getting into spell and trap cards. Mega Roid City. I don't think this deck can function without cards that are powerful, and Mega Roid City makes this deck work. You can target one of the cards you control, destroy it. If you do, add 1 Roid monster from your deck to your hand. So that's the big thing. Being able to activate this card, and then, you just destroy cards that you control and add any fusion piece you need. And that's just what makes this deck good. You can send a Roid monster from your deck to the graveyard, switch the original attack and defense of the battling monster during the damage calculation only. You can only use the effect of Mega Roid City once per turn. You cannot special summon monsters except fusion monsters turn you activate this effect. This is really good in conjunction with the Mixer Roid, because you send the Mixer Roid to the graveyard, switch the attack and defense of the attacking monster, and then you get the Mixer Roid to graveyard, the fusion summon for later. So these guys in conjunction together are very good. It makes the deck work. Vehicroid Connection Zone is the fusion card for the deck. It fusion summons a Vehicroid fusion monster from the extra deck. You get a monster from your hand or field with fusion materials, and it cannot be destroyed by card effects, and its effects cannot be negated. It's insane. This card is actually, like, really, really good. It's just the cards you're summoning with it are really, really bad. So, unfortunate, but that's just how they work. Supercharge is also coming into this deck. When your opponent declares an attack while the only monster you control is a machine type Roid monster, you draw 2 cards. Nice. The Emerge Roid Call is your counter trap for the deck. I don't know if we'll get this card, but I've seen we got Union Hanger and we got Union Scramble, so why can't we get this card? When a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated while you control a Roid fusion monster, negate the activation and send all cards with the same name as that card from the activating player's deck or extra deck to the graveyard. You can banish this card from the graveyard, then turn one Roid monster in your graveyard, add to your hand. So this card, in my opinion, is very good. You get past a lot of like problematic monster and spell and trap cards with it. You have to have a Roid fusion monster to activate it, so it's not just having any Roid monster is going to turn this card on. So I think it's very, very nice to have. And then we got Wonder Garage. Yeah, this card's okay, I guess. When this face-down card is destroyed, sent to the graveyard, special summon a level 4 or lower machine-type Roid monster from your hand. At this point, if you're expecting that to happen, just play Waking the Dragon. And then Iron Claw is going to be another power card that is very generic for machine decks. If you control a machine monster, target one level 4 or lower machine monster in your graveyard, special summon that target, but its effects are negated, also destroy it during the end phase. The reason why I think we're getting Iron Claw is because of the Union Hanger hit. And yeah, I just think it's very good in Roids, and I think you can get it from Cyrus as a level up reward. Could be wrong on that one, forgive me if I am. But yeah, I think it's just a very good generic spell card for machines. And then getting into the fusion monsters, we have UFO Roid Fighter. This card's insane. It's from the anime. It's from the Paradox Brother fight, so we're obviously getting it. The confirmed card is Jumbo Roid, or Jumbo Drill, which is a really neat one. It does piercing damage, and yeah, that's about it. 3,000 beater that does piercing damage and takes 3 materials to summon it. It's not that great. Maybe we'll get it some sort of, like if we get Connection Zone as a skill, that'd be insane. Like it would be the perfect card for this. And then we got Steam Gyroid, which I think is the most possible card for us to get. Because, you know, it just takes Gyroid and Steamroid, which if you don't know are this card here and this card here. So yeah, it's just, you know, 2200 beater. And then you got Rescue Roid, which we talked about earlier for Ambulance Roid and Rescue Roid being here. So Ambulance Rescue Roid is here, and it says once per turn when a monster on your side of the field is destroyed by battle and sent to graveyard, you can special summon that monster in defense position. So if your opponent decides they don't want to climb this and instead want to climb another card because they don't know how to read, hey, that's awesome. But most times this is the first card to get killed, so it's usually there for protection of some sort. And then my all-time favorite Roid monster, in my opinion, the best Roid monster to ever exist, Parapsych Roid. This card can attack directly, and it's just 2 machine monsters with the same name. Very generic. And yeah, best boss monster, 10 out of 10. Favorite card to ever exist. It's not actually my favorite card, but it is one of, like, it's in my top, I guess, 50. But yeah, he's pretty cool. And last but not least, we're going to be going over the guy that was not in the set itself. We are going to be going over Bashin Masawa. I think this deck has a lot of potential, especially if they go the same route as the Duel Links route. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into that. We have the Water Dragon, which gets summoned by your bonding H2O by attributing 2 Hydrogeddon and 1 Oxygeddon. Oxygeddon says when he battles a Pyro, each player takes 800 damage. Hydrogeddon says you can special summon Hydrogeddon from your deck. We're probably going to be getting this card as a duo card and a reprint for this from the GX box. So yeah, maybe we'll only get one. Who knows? But that would not make any sense to me. But yeah. So we also, I think we're going to get Duo Terion. I think this kind of like turns the deck on in a way. You can discard this card and add a bonding spell trap from your deck to your hand. If this card is normal or special summon, you can target 1 Hydrogeddon, Oxygeddon, or Duo Terion in your graveyard, special summon it, and you can only use the effect of Duo Terion once per turn. He's a 2000 beater with 5 stars, so you're not easily summoning him. He's more so going to be used for your discard effect to add the bonding spell and traps. The next one is going to be the Carbon-Geddon. I think this card is insane. I think this is the reason. I think we're definitely getting this card, and the reason why I think we're definitely getting this card is because of the Nightmare Sonic Blasterata. So this card says that you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon from your hand or deck, 1 level 7 or lower dragon normal monster in face-up defense position. So a Nightmare Sonic Blast, this card would have got Foolish Burialed, and then you could just summon your whatever it was, the Serpent Night Dragon, and then you get to use its effect, reveal the top 4 cards, destroy a card, add a card to hand, stack your deck. It would have been insane with this card, so they had to errata the skill. And then the card that it works with this deck is Hyos and Ryu. A little funny story about this card, very personal story, I guess. Whenever I was a kid and Yu-Gi-Oh! First came out, this was like my Blue Eyes White Dragon or Dark Magician, like my ace monster, and I would pair it with a card called Castle Walls. It gains 500 defense points for 1 monster, so this guy would go up to 3,300, which was enough to withstand a Blue Eyes White Dragon. But as a kid, I would like imagine that it was like on the walls and stuff, because I was like 5 years old. So yeah, I just always think about that when I see this card, that this guy was my main boss monster. And yeah, so it's going to be really nice to see this card. I don't think it's going to do anything to the meta, but it's still just a really cool card to see. And then I'm going to get into the Chemi Critters. So yeah, these cards are all Gemini monsters. If you didn't know, they're all cards that Bastion gets in Duel Links, which is a really interesting thing. I think it's either level up or by grinding him. And yeah, I think that Chemi Critters could be a very interesting deck to see in the format. I definitely think it's not a card archetype to bat your eye at. I think Geminis can be very, very strong depending on what cards we get. But Hydron Hawk is going to have this effect when you normal summon it. That says you can discard one card, then target Gemini monster in your graveyard, and special summon in defense position. Very simple card. And then we got Carbo Crab, which says you can send one Gemini monster from your deck to the graveyard, and one Gemini monster from your deck to your hand. So it's a searcher of sorts. Then you get the Oxy Ox, which says during the main phase you can special summon one Gemini monster from your hand, and if you do, all Gemini monsters you currently control become that monster's original level, which doesn't really do much right now, but they do have a Xyz monster in the future that could matter whenever that comes out. And then for our boss monsters, we have Chemi Critter Hydra Dragon, which makes perfect sense for the Water Dragon deck. This card says when it's summoned, when another Gemini monster is normal summoned, you can make this monster gain 500 defense. And if a Gemini monster you control would be destroyed by a card effect, you can destroy one other card you control instead. So it's a protection card, which I think is really interesting. And then the boss monster for them is going to be the Polychemi Critter Deoxy Ogre. So this card says you can normal summon one Gemini monster, or the normal summon of a Gemini monster cannot be negated, which doesn't really matter right now for speed duels, but could matter in the future. And then says once per turn, you can banish a Gemini monster from your graveyard, target one card your opponent controls, and destroy it. So this makes for the perfect boss monster for this deck, and it would be a really nice card to see in general for the Chemi Critters, and for Bastion in general, because I don't think there's a lot of cards he could really have. Mathematician is a fun little generic card that he uses in the anime. Another card that we could probably talk about that we more likely will not be getting is Curry Bandit. This card is also a card that Bastion uses, but like I said, we will likely not see this card. But Mathematician, I think, is very fair. When it's summoned, you can send a level 4 or lower monster from your deck to your graveyard, and when it's destroyed by battle, you can draw one card. So you normal summon this card, you send a Carpageddon to the graveyard, Carpageddon will summon your Hyos and Ryu, you just plus a million. Going into our bondings, we have Bonding H2O, which summons the Water Dragon by attributing Oxygeddon and Hydrogeddon, which is Oxygeddon and Hydrogeddon. So 2 Hydrogeddon and 1 Oxygeddon. Bonding D20, I think, is going to be a really interesting card that we can get for this. You can bring it out by attributing 2 Duo Tyrion and 1 Oxygeddon in your hand and or field. So it's a lot easier to summon it. You don't need them on the field to use it. And then it says that you can bring out Water Dragon or Water Dragon Cluster. I don't think Cluster can come to the format. Originally, I thought that it could because of Moss being such a powerhouse of a deck, but with the Niagara ban list, I don't think they're going to power creep us like I originally had anticipated. But yeah, this card says if a Water Dragon or Water Dragon Cluster sent from field to graveyard while this card is in your graveyard, add this card to your hand. So it's pretty nice. Easier way to summon the Water Dragon, and then also it can recur back if you ever need it, which would be good in a sealed draft format. The Gemini cards that we're playing, or I think are going to be in here, is going to be Catalyst Field, which is a field spell for the Chemi Critters. So this card says each turn 1 level 5 or higher Gemini monster you normal summon can be summoned without tributing, which would be really interesting for this one in particular. You get to normal summon without tributing, and yeah, it would be really interesting. During your main phase, you can normal summon 1 Gemini monster in addition to your normal summon set, and then once per turn, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, banish 1 Gemini monster you control that is treated as an effect monster, and has gained its effect until your opponent's end phase, and if you do, destroy that card. So I think this is a very, 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 very powerful card that turns this deck in particular on, making it into a meta contender for sure. But the likelihood of us getting it is like, it really depends on if we get Chemi Critters, and then it's still like a big maybe. Then we have Dimmer Synthesis. This card says, activate one of these effects, add 1 Catalyst Field from your deck to your hand, which is this card here, or add 1 Burnout and 1 Chemi Critter, add 1 Burnout and 1 Chemi Critter from your deck to your hand. So this is Burnout, we'll go over that in a second, and then, like I said, any Chemi Critter. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard and target 2 face-up monsters you control, including a Gemini monster that's treated as an effect monster, and has gained its effect. Until the end of this turn, make one of those monsters attack 0, and if you do, the second monster gains attack equal to the first monster's original attack. So that's really interesting because you can turn these guys into even more of a beater, and yeah, I just like that a lot. Burnout's another really cool trap card that comes with this deck. It says banish 1 face-up Chemi Critter monster you control, special summon 2 Chemi Critter monsters from your deck with different names from each other. So that's really crazy. So being able to just summon 2 cards for free being the Deoxy Ogre and Hydra Geddon, or yeah, Hydro Dragon for free is just really interesting. And then when your opponent declares a direct attack except to turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your banished Gemini monsters, special summon it, and if you do, it becomes an effect monster and gains its effects. So it's a really interesting card. These cards kind of turn the deck on. Like I said, these Gemini monsters would suck if we did not get any of these, so if they do bring us the Chemi Critters, I definitely anticipate us to get these 3 cards. I also expect us to get Supervise, which is a very interesting card as well. It turns a normal Gemini monster into an effect monster. We also could get Gemini Booster, which is an equip card to Gemini monster that's really bad, just gains 700 attack, and when that card is destroyed while equipped to the card, you can select a face-up Gemini monster and treat it as an effect monster. So it's just really interesting. I think this deck has a lot of potential out of all of them the most. I think that, if anything, this could be the tier 1 deck that comes out of it, being Chemi Critters. But that's, you know, if we get Chemi Critters, it's not confirmed. Like I said, none of these cards that I have gone over are confirmed, except for Water Dragon, except for Super Vehic Roid Jumbo Drill, except for Elemental Hero Blaze Man, and except for Paradox Gate Guardian. So yeah, those are the only confirmed cards. We can obviously argue that these cards are also confirmed, and if these cards are confirmed, then that also means that Poly is confirmed to have the reprint in here, and if that's also confirmed, that also means that the fusion summons for Jumbo Drill are also confirmed. So yeah, that's cool. And then being the Steam Roid, Drill Roid, and Submarine Roid, and then also confirmed would be the cards to summon Water Dragon, which would be Bonding H2O, 2 Hydra Geddon, and then 1 Oxy Geddon. But yeah. So yeah, that's about it. I'm happy that we were able to go over all 4 of these decks together. It's going to be a little bit of a longer video today. Hope you all enjoyed this type of content, and I hope you're excited for the Midterm Paradox box coming out October 7th, I believe. So, like 3 weeks away. If you guys enjoy this type of content, make sure you leave a like. If you like me, make sure you subscribe, and above all else, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.